What's up, YouTube? It's me again, and I'm out here taking a walk out in Kansas, and we're going to talk about morality, entertainment, and boredom. And think about those things and think about maybe linkages between them that you may or may not have thought about. And this came to me while I was kind of discussing morality with a friend and going into it and things like that. And so I just wanted to get these thoughts out and see what y'all think, and hopefully maybe get some subscriber count going and get some conversations going. But if not, that's fine too, because I don't mind talking to myself. So here we go. So one of the biggest questions for me that I always kind of think about is morality. And I have lots of morality questions. Lately I've been playing the Persona 5 series, which has a lot of morality arguments in it, a lot of questions about morality. And it's a great game. It's a lot of fun. It's kind of a long game. It's a JRPG, but it's a fun game too, and it's got a lot of questions in it about morality. Questions I've asked my friends, and I know some of them get bored over, but questions like, if you could live in a world where it was a perfect world just for you, everything was perfect, like your family was well and healthy, or maybe had a wife and a kids, maybe a couple kids or more, just your perfect idea of kids, and just if life was perfect for you, but somebody else was in control of your reality, would you be willingly deceived to live in their world, in that reality, if you know that it was a deception? Or would you choose to remain in this reality that we currently live in, which of course we seem to have no control over very much, to make changes or to really affect a change that would be meaningful or impactful? So I asked a lot of my friends that, and some of them said they would choose the good reality, and I had a hard time with it. I wanted to, think about being tempted to choose the good reality as well. It's very tempting to live in a world that I think would be perfect for me, like a world where I was a great military man and just everything always successful. Like I'm, the person that you want to be, and the person that you kind of hope to be, or that you're trying to transition to. And so it was tough, but I think I would choose to stay in the reality I currently live in, simply because I'm not being deceived as far as I can tell. Could be wrong. Maybe this is all a simulation. Who knows? But it's interesting thought experiments like that. And so as we're kind of talking about this as this experiment, this playing this game, like it's always hitting me with these hard-hitting questions, and I think about what would I do in this situation, or how would I interact with the world, things like that. And so as I think more about the morality of of things, I think a lot of tropes that are out and about, which are kind of the bad guy tropes, the villain tropes, right? The bad guy is usually some corporate fat cat, or somebody who's has all the power and things like that, has the ability to control a lot of decisions, a lot of things in your life. And the good guy is always the moral, upstanding one, which, as we say morality, he's always the moral or upstanding guy. And so we're always rooting for the good guy to win, and to assert justice over the bad guy, and to change the reality of the situation into a favorable one. But I keep on thinking about it. Sometimes, yeah, it seems to be more of a, like, the villain is just doing it for power's sake. But oftentimes when they insert God into these kind of tropes, like, the God is usually bored. Like, he's lived for forever, he's done everything that there is to do, and the God has nothing going for him. So much like other people of power, and like even in movies sometimes when they have like those arenas or stuff like Hunger Games or other things, other shows similar in nature to that, the person in power is bored and seeks entertainment for their amusement. And that got me thinking about morality in whole, on a larger scale. Like, is the reason that we live this way on Earth, like, is ending suffering, ending human suffering, which I often hear as I listen to morality arguments. I listen to these discussions online and things like that. I like to listen to them and hear different viewpoints and just learn and try to imagine more and more, and to hopefully, develop systems, develop ways that we can make the world a better place. Like, truthfully, and there's plenty of organizations out there to do that. So you don't necessarily need to reinvent the wheel, but sometimes, they're not out there marketing, they're not letting themselves be known, because of course that uses money that they should be using for other things, which, if the organization is a good one, they're doing that instead. And they're not marketing, but that sometimes causes the problem that you just don't know about the organization, even if they are doing good things. So the question then, is morality, something that is literally just an entertainment piece for God? Like, is the suffering on earth, is entertainment? Is that what he does to amuse himself? Is that for fun? I know, also thinking about aspects of work and going to work and having fun with people and things like that we always like to hear about gossip. We always like drama. We like things, we like conflict in our stories, and stories without conflict are boring most of the time. Nobody likes to watch them. Stories, if they don't have triumph, or if they don't have an entertainmental piece or value, they're boring to listen to. So a world without suffering would probably be a boring one. A world that wouldn't be very exciting to live in, albeit it would be a much happier place than it is now. So if with happiness the goal of ending suffering, I don't think that would be a great world either, because we'd be bored. And we want something to entertain ourselves, and we want something just like we do now, just like we do currently. We go to fights, we watch fights on pay-per-view because it shows the conflict between people, and we like it when they trash talk each other and when they don't like each other, and that adds to the drama of it. And while they're suffering or whatever, like, they're not really suffering per se, but because they're the cause of their own suffering. But we do enjoy the conflict, we do enjoy the courage and everything that comes with it. So a world without suffering would be a boring one to live in, which brings me back to morality. Is morality and entertainment and boredom linked together? And I would say that they probably are. Like, they're things that are linked together, things that are tied together and cannot really be separated, because without entertainment, that we as Americans, and even pretty much anywhere around the world, people love entertainment. They just want to be entertained, and it's much harder to change that. I mean, even I'm definitely guilty of wanting entertainment in life, even at the expense of not being the most moral or being the righteous, because we always think of the church is not exciting to be unless there's a scandal going down, right? The church is not a fun place to be if everybody's happy and doing the right thing. And so it's a interesting thought to think about, like, are they really linked together? Like, is there a causal link? And I would contend that, yeah, there seems to be one. There seems to be some sort of causal link to morality with entertainment and boredom. We as humans seem to have made that connection, or seem to make that connection more often than not. So, we were talking about the greater good. We were talking about, like, Martin Luther King and Harriet Tubman and, like, Abraham Lincoln, people that went through great adversity in their lifetimes and that suffered that great adversity, and overcame it. And obviously for the greater good, like, Martin Luther King was a beacon for, civil rights and liberties like that. And Abraham Lincoln was a beacon for abolishing slavery. And the founding fathers, were a beacon for establishing, albeit after multiple bills of rights being added and things like that. So it wasn't perfect, and it still isn't perfect by any means, but a beacon for freedom, for religious tolerance, things like that. And, beacons for these, but they had to go through a lot of suffering to attain the goal. So the greater good is kind of where I'm getting into there. So we're tying these things together. So we're saying entertainment, morality, boredom have a causal link. Like one is basically kind of attributed to the other, right? So if you are moral, you're generally considered to be a boring person. And if you're boring, then you're not providing entertainment value, and you seek to boost that entertainment value by not being as moral. Because the things that we find exciting, the things that we enjoy to watch, like any drama show, like there's very few shows that you watch just for the happiness aspect. And I'm not saying there's not those shows out there too. I like, happiness shows. The Japanese would call it, they don't call it this, sorry. But I do enjoy kind of the moe shows, which is childlike innocence. They have some, I don't, please believe me, I have my own kids. I don't see, children that way, but I do enjoy watching childlike innocence. I like watching my children as they possess that childlike innocence, and as they grow up and they lose it a little bit, but also, some of my younger two kind of still have it, that childlike innocence that they, it's fun to watch like that for the pure happiness, because there's just no motive there of negativity. There's nothing negative about the way, of childlike innocence. But for morality's sake, like it's always the trope of the big boss is always the bored one, and to alleviate his boredom, to alleviate his boredom, he seeks entertainment, and the entertainment always comes at the cost of his morality. He always has to give something or sacrifice something in order to maintain his status of power, and he does so that he can be entertained with messing with the lives of those below him and changing their lives and editing their lives in the ways that he sees fit. And that is what drives us as humans, even in our daily interactions. We always seek out the gossip. We seek out to hear about the bad things that are happening in other people's lives, even though that's not a moral thing to do. We seek out that because we wanted to be entertained. We wanted to, talk about the drama. We want to feel superior. We want to enjoy our status of power over these people who don't have that, instead of getting, together with them and trying to help them or do something that would be helpful or encouraging. And, in a lot of cases, and especially with me, like I feel like I lack the capacity to do so. Like I'm trying, I'm doing all right. Like I'm not totally, bottom neck poor, begging for money, but I don't have money just overflowing. I don't have the capacity to help people the way I would like to if money was not an object. If money was not an object for me, I and that's for anybody. Like you could do so much more in this world, but then you become greedy. And again, you seek to use that greed for your own entertainment value. So I'm happy with the amount of money I have. Ish, you always could want a little bit more to make that little breathing room, make that little nest egg, make things a little bit easier in life. But it's hard because you just, we as Americans especially, we like to throw money at any problem we have. Ukraine is a problem, and we're, adding weapons and inventory to Ukraine. We're sending them, money and things. And so the American solution to most problems, and the reason that we are one of the wealthiest, if not the wealthiest country in the world, is because of our desire to help any situation by simply adding an influx of money, whether that be funds or goods or services or something of that nature, something to the situation. We like to add our nose where sometimes it doesn't belong, sometimes it does. And even with that capacity, we still desire for that strife. We still desire for entertainment. Like Hollywood definitely in America is while I enjoyed watching Bollywood and things in India, when I know it's more popular over in India, like they emulate a lot of American ideals in Hollywood. Like the invention of Hollywood has caused, a great debauchery in America, because, we give these actors and things millions of dollars and they're bored. They're bored. They have everything, all the money they could ever want. And of course, what do they start to do? They start to do drugs. They start to seek entertainment. and their morality goes out the window because they're not, that they have all this money, they're bored, they don't know, that they can't do anything really good with it, or they, don't want to because of course they're selfish or greedy, or who knows, and some, I'm not saying all of them are this way. I know plenty of, not plenty, but I know a decent amount of celebrities that give to a good cause here and there, and some of those, but they're not going to the point of being broke or things like that. They're always, of course, saving money for themselves to enjoy a lifestyle that many of us would find to be, top upper crust, things like that. So, they there's nothing wrong with that. I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with, well, roughly speaking, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with being able to afford a lifestyle that's luxurious. And if I had the money to do so, I'm not saying I wouldn't live that way. Like, if I had, money, sudden, and I always, think about this. I always hope that someday it'll dream just fall in my pocket. I don't buy the scratch offs, so I can't afford them. But, I always hope that one day money will just fall in my pocket out of nowhere. Or I always thought, like, if someone was going to grant me 3 wishes, one of them would be like this little story I heard that, whenever I need money, I just reach in my pocket and whatever amount that I need is there. That there's a joke about that, which is kind of funny. But either way, I do believe there might be more of a link than we care to think about between entertainment, morality, and boredom. And in the grand scope of things, like if God made everything perfect, if he ended suffering today and caused us to be in our best reality. So everybody on the planet Earth currently, and there's the infinite multiverse theory, but everybody, like, even as I was kind of to go off topic on the multiverse, but I heard a theory about listened to a talk last night about everything at once, and she was being shown her life through a multiverse, and in other lives she saw how good she had it or how well she had done and this and that, and of course she was sad because of all those missed opportunities, things in her life that she could have changed, just one thing here and there. And I think about that too, just one thing I could have done differently to change drastically, forever change my reality. Like, what if I had what if I had joined the Marine Corps when I was 18 years old? Like, I went to the recruiter to talk to, I took one of the tests, they said I had a really good rating. And what if I had joined the Marine Corps at 18 instead of, getting married and going to Bible college? What if I had done that instead? There's an infinite myriad of possibilities, and you can't think on it too much because your brain will explode. But back to the topic at hand of everything, like if God made the perfect reality for you, would you even recognize it if you were in it? Like, and would you want to change it? Like, would you want to seek out that entertainment? Of course, humans have a finite lifespan, which is good and bad, but I believe that saves us from eternal boredom, which, I think it was maybe some of the reason why God did things the way he did. Like, and I don't necessarily believe that, the Christian God exists. That's not what I'm arguing here, but what I'm, if I was an eternal being that, was just stuck in eternity, I'm sure the entertainment I would seek would probably be, something along the lines of the horrific experiment of Earth 572 or whatever Earth we're on in a multiverse theory, if that is, if a multiverse is true. And I'm not saying that this is the right way. Like, maybe, if I were God, and the question I asked way earlier, would I purposely be deceived? Would I live in a world that was perfect for me? That maybe I stayed married, maybe my kids still are with me every night, maybe I became the best military strategist, or maybe I became something better. Maybe I became a brilliant scientist that developed, light speed travel that helped Earth break its bonds of being stuck on this planet, and maybe I invented something so miraculous that it stopped world hunger. Maybe I did something awesome, like, we picture or we see in Star Trek, things that I wish, we could come into play, that we could make reality, and that they're not. So I do believe that those are linked, and I understand, maybe I'm understanding more of what, if a God is out there, what they would be desiring to watch. And I think that's the key here is something that they want to watch. We like to hear bad stories. We always, a story without conflict is hardly a story with reading. This is a story that most of us would say is a boring book. Like if it doesn't have a conflict, some of the best, or the some of the anime and some of the shows I watch, of course, I like to watch shows that are full of conflict. I like to watch shows and the overcoming of the conflict and the entertainment of that, the entertainment of the good overcoming evil, is what makes it appealing to watch. The craziest thing that I still do, even to this day, and this is something that I guess I learned or developed over a period of time. I think starting even back around 10 years ago or so, 10 or 20 years ago, was that no matter how many times I watched a story, I would expect it to be different, which is ludicrous, right? Like you watch my favorite movie, Disney movie, is a Goofy movie, and I would always expect it to be different for some reason. Like it's just a little tick in my brain, and I do mean it's a little tick. Like I watch a show, and then I'll watch it again, and I'll expect it to be different this time, or I expect the bad guy to be stopped like earlier in the show, like like Kishi, or like how it should have ended, like some of those YouTube channels or things like that, where they the bad guy, the story is over before it even begins because they do the right thing the first time, and it's just a weird tick that I have, but it's relatable in that the compelling things that we like to watch, the things we like to listen to the most, are conflict stories, are things where morality is brought into question, whether what they're doing is good, what they're doing is bad, and those judgment calls we make every day, especially on big topic issues, Roe versus Wade, that kind of stuff. So I'm actually going to end this here at this time. This is going to be one of my shorter videos. We'll see if this one does better because it's only 22 minutes. I'm curious to know about your thoughts. I want to know what you think. I want to know even dissenting viewpoints. I want to know. Please tell me. Maybe this little conversation where I took a walk and just discussed one big bright idea, maybe that'll be something I can do more often. And maybe I won't do more at all. It just depends. This is just something that I enjoy doing. I do like making this style of video, and I suck at editing, which is why I don't currently. So maybe I'll get better at that as we go along. But for now, I hope you all have a great day, and see you on the next vid.